Hello and welcome to Western Perspective. I'm Nelson Liu. Well, he's the most well-known candidate in the Perth mayoral race. Basil Zemplias, certainly the who's who of television news in WA. As the race continues to heat up, Basil promises to be accountable and give the Perth CBD a much-needed reboot. So what are his visions for WA's capital and what are his promises to young ratepayers? Ivan Leung talked to him this week in the next part of our local government interview series.
Basil Zemplias, good to be with you, and it's good to see you again after around 10 years.
Yeah, Ivan, good to see you. Congratulations on what you've achieved. I think you had, did I see over 1 million views on last Sunday's news?
1.4 in March.
1.4 for the month of March. Congratulations, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Basil. Why did you choose to run?
Well, I chose to run because I feel I can make a real contribution to the role of Lord Mayor. Everybody knows we haven't had a Lord Mayor and an elected council now for 3 years, and we need strong leadership in the city of Perth. And I believed when I looked at it that I had a set of skills and attributes that I think are fresh for the role and that I have a real contribution to make. I'm a strong leader, I'm a communicator, I'm non-political, I come from a different background, I'm independent, and I believe that's a skill set that nobody else has altogether, and a dynamic that I can throw at it 100%, together with my passion, my history in Perth, my profile, that can really help make a difference. So a long answer to a short question, but that's part of the reason why.
In this week's debate, you talk about who do you know, who do you trust? There are so much trust issues out there, and of course, when it comes to the city's problems, I saw everybody has a piece of the puzzle, a piece of the solution. But one of the important pieces that is missing for many candidates, in my opinion, and perhaps you as well, is political experience. None of you has become a councillor, none of you has been a mayor, or none of you has been in politics or active politics. Now, it's easy to talk about politics. It's easy to touch on politics, but being in politics is completely another thing. So why should people trust you and other candidates when a lot of you are still on your learner's permit?
Yes, well, the fact of the matter is that everybody is new to this in this arena, so everybody starts equal. You're quite right. Nobody has nobody has been on the council before, and nobody has been a mayor before. But Ivan, I think that's exactly what we need at this time. It's a fresh set of eyes. It's not somebody with the old political connections. It's not somebody who's been at this all their life. So we have 7 new candidates who have not been in this arena, and I personally think that's a wonderful thing. If I was only in this as an elector, which I'm entitled to be, I would think terrific that we've got 7 fresh candidates who don't have political allegiances and don't have a previous history on the council. And why is that an advantage? Because it's a fresh set of eyes, it's a new approach, it's not people that are ingrained in the old way of doing things. And so for me, it's the right thing at the right time.
Okay. Any new ideas that you haven't preached out yet that you want to talk about, particularly for young ratepayers?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've spoken a lot about some of the things that I am very focused on. I have a homeless plan, and that is to partner with beddown.org.au. And if you haven't already, please take the time to have a look at their website or the details on mine. I have called, as you know, for 200 extra police at the Perth Police Centre across in Northbridge. Not the police's fault, but there is a shortage of visible, highly visible, permanent police presence on our streets, and I'm very firm on that. And I've announced 10 ideas that I will champion. One of them that I haven't mentioned as yet, it's a basic, but right now in the corporate space, the buzzword with CEOs and managers is town hall meetings. And anybody who works in a firm with a larger staff will have heard their boss say, we're going to have a town hall meeting. If I'm elected Lord Mayor, I'm going to reintroduce real town hall meetings in the real town hall, the Perth Town Hall. Once a month, the Mayor and a number of the candidates, probably a morning tea where people can come, the ratepayers and the residents of the city of Perth can come and have a cup of tea and a biscuit and discuss and tell us the issues that are important to them. For too long, there's been a massive disconnect between the ratepayers and the residents of the city of Perth and the elected officials. I'm going to get rid of that. Once a month, if not more, the Lord Mayor himself, if it happens to be me, and some of the councillors will be in the room, available to take questions and to discuss with the key people the issues that are important.
You must have met a lot of young ratepayers and young people in the city during your campaign. What do they tell you and what do they want?
They want more activity. They want more things to do in the city. They'd like more fabulous events. Fringe is one that comes up all the time, very consistently. They love the buzz of Fringe. And one of the events that I'm very keen to champion is a Sydney Vivid style event. I don't want to take Vivid from Sydney and bring it to Perth, but I love what it stands for. It's a lights, ideas, music and movement display, if you like, that goes for a month in Sydney. I'd like to start that off small. We've got a beautiful natural amphitheatre here. We've certainly got clever, creative people. We've got wonderful artists. We've got perfect places to display great lights. So I'd like to bring the buzz of that event to Perth. I think we've got the perfect amphitheatre for it. If they can do it in Sydney, we can do a styled event like that. And one of the other things I'm very keen on is returning Perth to the City of Lights. Once upon a time, we were known, after John Glenn travelled over in a spacecraft, we were known as the City of Lights. But there are not enough lights in the city of Perth. I want fairy lights in the main grid. I'd like to see St George's Terrace, Barrack Street, Wellington Street, William Street and the two malls lit up with fairy lights all of the time. I would like to see the Indigenous light display that is part of the Festival of Perth. I'd like to see that at least 4 months of the year. From October through to March would be ideal, even longer. I would like to see us again be the City of Lights. And one of the great things I've seen is done overseas, turning the river into the River of Lights, where a light display where all boats are charged with lights and it becomes an event that all of Perth can become involved in. So the City of Lights, a Vivid style festival. I've talked already about the impact that the Special Olympics coming to Perth could have in 2027. I am right behind that and championing that. And I've talked about the mining festival that I'd like to create down on Langley Park with what I would call the modern giants, and drive those great big heavy haulage machines down through the city. Invite everyone, invite all of WA to come and have a taste of mining life during the school holidays and see those big machines and big equipment and the FIFO life come to life in front of their eyes down here on Langley Park.
Finally, what's your assurance to young ratepayers?
Well, I am a Lord Mayoral candidate who is committed to Perth. I have a family. I'm a family man. I have a wife and 3 children. I've grown up and spent all of my life in Perth. I know what is important to Perth people. They want a cleaner and safer city. They want a city that is easy to access and to be able to get around. They want parking that is fairer, more equitable and easier. We need to develop an app, for example, to be able to allow them not to have to run out to the meter all the time. And we need compelling, people-focused events and attractions. But probably even more importantly than all of that, they need to be able to know that they can look to Council House, to their Lord Mayor and 8 councillors, and know that they will be living the values that I have: to work hard, to use common sense, to do the right thing, and to be available at all times, to be scrutinised and to be open and accountable. That's the sort of Lord Mayor I want to be. That's the sort of council that I want to lead, a culture of working together, of doing the right thing and making Perth as good as it possibly can be.
Basil Zemplias, it's good to see you again, and I believe that we'll see each other more in the coming months.
No doubt, Ivan. Thank you very much for your interest.
And now, the AMA WA's President Dr Andrew Miller provides his weekly COVID-19 update.
Hi everyone, thanks for your time this afternoon. It seems like we've been on the COVID road for quite a while, right, since February, March, and it's getting pretty fatiguing, even for people who are not locked down. You know, our hearts go out to the people in Melbourne and down on the Mornington Peninsula there, and they've been through a really tough time. A lot of businesses going to the wall, a lot of people unable to go to work, and under the curfew, they've managed to bend the curve there, bring the case number right down, but of course that's what you have to do when it gets out into your community, because it causes a lot of deaths if you don't stop it, and that will be worse for your economy. We've seen economic contractions in countries where the disease is bad, of course, are much worse than in countries like ours. Western Australia are even going to report a surplus by the look of it this year. So grim circumstances certainly for everybody, but we do need to keep this disease very firmly under control. We're very good at border control here in Australia, both international and interstate. We're not so good at tracking and tracing, as we've found in Victoria, and I don't think there's any convincing evidence that that's the Victorians' fault. I think it's a matter of numbers. If any state faced the same numbers that they did, then I think we would find it very hard to do the same sort of tracking and tracing. Around 29 million cases worldwide now, getting close to 1 million deaths. Unfortunately, that's a nasty milestone that we're going to go past soon in this pandemic. So what is the future for us here in Australia, given that by best estimates we have around 26,000 known cases, around 800 deaths sadly so far. That still leaves, if we say 3 to 1 cases that we don't know about to the ones we do know about, a lot of asymptomatic cases, say we've had 100,000 all up infected in the country so far, which is a generous estimate. We still got 25.4 million people in Australia who have not yet faced this disease, not yet developed any immunity to it. We know there's vaccines on the way. We're all learning a lot more about vaccines. It was good to see the Oxford trial going through its safety protocols and ceasing while they had a look at a coincidental disease in one of the people in the active arm of that trial. That's appropriate. You get tens of thousands of people in a trial, somebody's going to get sick, and you have to look at it and make sure that the independent experts are satisfied it's not to do with the vaccine. So we might get vaccine next year, but in the meantime, what we're going to be calling for is smarter border controls combined with very clever testing, which we already have. The PCR test, of course, is an amazing bit of technology that we can use on people who are coming into our states on day 1 and day 5, day 11, those sort of time spans, in order to tell whether someone has been in the incubation period on arrival, particularly if they've come from an area where there is known community spread. So we need to make the border smarter though, because at the moment just a hard border, whilst that is an appropriate emergency response, people get sick of it, and you'll get increasing examples of injustice and unfairness and lack of compassion where there's a sort of fairly arbitrary basis on which it's decided who can come and go, not just from the state but from us into Australia. We need to up our capacity for bringing Australians home and for bringing essential people into the country over time. This is not something that should be rushed, because we've got to be safe about it, but we also have to be smart. We can't just sit here with the door shut and say, right, that's it. We do have to allow people to get together for important reasons, and that has a risk with it, but if we do it in a smart way, then I think that we can do it safely. So how do we do it in a smart way? Well, firstly, there's the testing regime. Secondly, there's a lot of technology that we can use with cooperative people that will head us in the right direction. And there's some technology you can even use with uncooperative people. What we could be using is something like a Fitbit with an app on your phone, so that someone's connected to their phone at all times, and then we know where they are whilst they're quarantining. So you could bring in more people, you wouldn't be overloading your hotels, and you would be able to know where those people are. You also might need some technology around ensuring that there's not other people coming and going from their home. But this is being done in other places. It's being done in Hong Kong, it's being done in Shanghai. And so the stuff's available out there. It's just a matter of having the will to implement it, and then you can afford to be a bit more compassionate. Now, around the reasons why people can come and go, there needs to be clear transparency, there needs to be an appeals process, and there needs to be some fairness in place there, so that we can avoid some of the really harsh outcomes we're seeing, and particularly for people who have infants, small children who are being locked in hotel rooms. You know, I can't imagine what that'd be like with 2 small infants for 14 days. That's the sort of stuff that can really damage people. People being able to come and go for family events like funerals, or for someone who's very, very ill. Very important that we allow that, because those sort of things can cause real damage long term. Essential workers. We know that there are some essential workers that can be sourced locally if we're smart about that, but part of having a smart border is being able to bring in people who we need for big projects or for particular jobs. And there's no reason why, with location technology and a smart system, that we can't keep this border sustainable over time. Sure, there's going to be some people who are still unhappy that they can't have the tourism business that they want to have, and we support them through our tax dollars whilst we keep the community safe. Because one thing's for sure, if we get a whole lot of COVID outbreak in the community by just opening the border right up, you're not going to have a tourism business anyway. People are not going to be interested in travelling through COVID hotspots in Western Australia for sure. So I think there's a lot of capacity to do that, whilst we're also then better preparing ourselves in that process for outbreak in our community, so that if people hear do get the disease, we're then able to better quarantine, track and trace those people very quickly. We need something to replace COVID Safe. We need either a major upgrade on that application or ditch it altogether, go to something else. Government traditionally terrible at delivering technological solutions. Not surprised that this one's been a bit of a dead horse. So let's just get over that, quick to fail, move on to the next thing. Let's have an app that does provide us with some location information around where people are. People will be happy to do that in return for hanging on to what is a very livable life for most people in phase 4 here in Western Australia at the moment. So I'd encourage you all to stay safe, be thinking also about the workplace culture within our health systems that needs to improve at this time. 3,000 infected healthcare workers in Victoria, unacceptable number. We can't have that here. Fit testing is coming, not quick enough. PPE is coming for aged care and so on, but not quick enough. Those things all need to be put in place before we can bring the border down, and really that work is yet to be done. So we'll keep pushing hard on the preparation side of things for COVID in WA. In the meantime, look after one another. All of the people in our media are very important at the moment because at a time of community crisis, it's really vital that accurate and timely information get out there, particularly when the government is running a response that needs to be questioned, it can be improved, and there's no problem with nipping at the government's heels and trying to get them to do things better. So reporters, very important, and I've been pleased to meet a lot of very smart people. Taylor from WAMN News, I understand, time for you to be moving on, and your intellect and your reporting has, I think, really contributed to the safety of Western Australia. So good on you, well done, good luck in the future. Thanks.
And on that note, that's WP for this week. We'll be back with another episode next time, but before we go, I just want to say, Taylor, you've been a big part of WAMN News all these years. I am going to miss you here, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavours. And now it's back to you, Taylor, for the last time, and of course, Ivan.
Thank you, Nelson. Very much appreciated.
Now, as you've all heard earlier, this is Taylor Hannah's final newscast after spending almost 3 years here at WAMN News. Now, I would like to clarify, 2.5 years from 2017 to the end of 2019, and then she came back during the peak of the coronavirus period to help us out, and I'm sure all viewers will join me now in sharing our appreciation for your efforts. 467 stories, including the exclusive coming out on Monday, and we talk about countless online broadcast stories, bulletins, piece to cameras, live and live on social media. For a young person, no matter how you look at it, it is an achievement for you.
A massive achievement. I'm very proud of all the work that I've done here at WAM, and I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't here.
And half an hour of expansion of this program wouldn't have been possible without you.
What are you going to do without me, Ivan?
Ladies and gentlemen, she always teases me with this in the office, and I will miss you. And I will miss this. And whatever you do in the future, we know that it will be great. And you're always welcome to come back, as always.
Thank you, Ivan. That's very much appreciated.
So I'll let you say final goodbyes.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
See you later.